Hey guys, Valerie Hunt, RunRx, Ask Me Anything Wednesday. So today I have two questions that have come through, so I wanted to answer those. So number one, and it's a great question, so I'll just say we're going to talk three things: heart rate, shoes, and stretching for running. So the first question was about heart rate, and you know, one of the things that we have to be really careful with, especially when we're trying to develop, for me anyway, helping people learn how to run. Almost everyone that comes into the RunRx program is running with what's called active muscle contraction. So most of us are running initially with what's called our musculoskeletal system. So a lot of times you're doing things like reaching or pushing or pumping your arms, and all of those things use energy in 100%, a lot of energy. However, they're not really assisting you in movement. They're not if something doesn't initiate movement while I'm standing still, it's not going to really help me when I'm trying to move. So keeping that in mind, say I'm standing here and I'm like, hey guys, we're going to do jumping jacks. And we started to do jumping jacks. And then, whoo, my heart rate's getting up and all that stuff. There's a lot of things going on, but I'm not traveling. So there's a different rate of exertion. And the reason I say that is because when most of us, when we're running, like I said, we're exerting because we're like trying to pull our feet too high, or maybe, you know, working too much with our legs, or just trying to run with muscles. And I was that person too, so I'm not laughing in any other way, but because I know that when you start to work more efficiently with your cardiovascular system, because running is a cardiovascular activity, which is the heart muscle, the heart, the lungs, right? The whole cardio system. So what you want to do is, instead of, you want to go in reverse. So let me say this. When you're connecting with running and understanding and being okay with running as free falling. So in running, if I want to accelerate, if I want to travel forward, you see, I have to fall. So when we're standing, we're in balance. We want to fall out of balance. That's what we want. And then not only do we want to fall out of balance, we want to fall and pull our foot up so that we continue to travel forward, because we're always getting back to pose so we can fall and pull. And then it's a cycle. Pose, fall, pull, pose, fall, pull. I have to be in my running pose so my body can fall, and the pull is actually a natural response to the fall. This is the best thing about running. We all have what's called a natural blueprint for our run. And so your hamstring already knows what to do. It's not like we have to teach our hamstring how to work. We have to connect to letting go, that all we have to do is finish pulling our foot up from the ground. And in the beginning, when I'm switching movements, so however you were running before, all of a sudden now, let me say something really fun real quick. We all have the same opportunity to use gravity to free fall, and there's 22.5 available degrees. When I practice falling, this is probably like 30 or 40 or even 50 degrees. We're never going to really fall this much, but it's to help open our mind to understanding what falling is. And also, what is my first response usually when I fall? If you trip and fall, you're like, woo, heart rate shoots up, all kinds of things start to happen. So if I've never used my fall to accelerate before, all of a sudden, guess what? You're going to be running a little bit faster than you've ever run before. You're going to all of a sudden switch from using these active muscle contractions to using muscle elasticity. So you're going to be pulling off the ground quicker. So all of a sudden you're like, hey, there's so much going on that I've never felt before. So you're thinking more. Your heart rate is like a false elevation in the beginning, because you're still kind of trying to run how you used to. Then you're trying to change your movement. You're thinking about it. And all of a sudden, you're starting to use your cardiovascular system more than your musculoskeletal system. That's a shift. It's a shift both physically and mentally. And so it's just really important to understand that I would probably highly suggest allowing your heart rate to adapt to your movement rather than you adapting your movement to your heart rate. That's so important. And the reason I say that is because for most of us, the heart rate will do this naturally. And How many of you can really stay at a top speed for any length of time? Most of us can't. Sprinters don't. Sprinters sprint for short distance. And then as we see the elites go further and further in their distance, we're going to always naturally see time get slower. Now, that being said, an elite marathoner versus me is a huge difference, right? And so what's the difference? What's happening? Instead of thinking I'm going to slow myself down, think I'm going to increase my efficiency. Because the reality is, once you're actually moving correctly and you simply do allow your body to fall forward and you simply pull your foot, you're going to be using 10% muscle contraction. That's it. So again, not using a lot of muscular effort. I'm going to be using more heart than active muscle. And so what starts to happen is your heart rate will naturally get more efficient as you're actually running faster, simply because you're understanding how to use gravity, how to pull your foot off the ground quicker. So if in your training and your learning, you allow your heart rate to tell you what to do, then you're not connecting with gravity and free falling. And in the beginning, just like I'm telling you, you have to practice a big fall to feel. Same in your run. In the beginning, you're only going to feel the fall when it's like, woo, kind of a intense fall. This is why in the beginning, you have to just take the heart rate monitor off and connect with running is running. So, okay, your heart rate goes up, great. You'll be fine. You cannot hold that high heart rate for an indefinite period of time. So be very careful as you're transitioning, and you're learning how to change your movement to work with gravity. Because once you realize I control how far I want to fall and how fast I want to run, then your heart rate is going to do the same thing, right? And then if I'm running, and if your heart rate's too high for reasons of like I cannot hold the pace I'm holding, so I'm working too hard, you'll be able to pull back on your fall. And it's a natural thing, guys, for most of us. I mean, if you're out running and you simply cannot hold the speed you're holding, you don't. So it's not the heart rate that's limiting you. So please don't limit yourself with heart rate. I would do this instead. Take your heart rate monitor if you like to wear it, and when you go out to practice, use it to record your data, right? So it's more important how quick I recover. So if I'm wearing my monitor and I'm doing an interval where I'm running, and I stop running, then within 2 minutes, my heart rate should be at about 120. If it's not, then I know I overexerted. But generally, you're going to know that. So I would just use it as data in the beginning. And then what you're going to note is if you record your data, as you continue to get more comfortable with using gravity, your heart rate will naturally go down. And you'll actually find yourself being able to hold a higher pace because you're going to be that much more efficient than worrying about your heart rate. You'll be at a lower heart rate. And I'm a good testimonial. When I first started running, I was very much, I never used a heart rate monitor, but I stayed the same pace all the time. 5K and a marathon, I would just run an 8:30 pace. And when I started working with my running coach, he was like, well, let's add in some training intervals so you can feel what it feels like to actually elevate your heart rate instead of always staying right here. Well, I was actually putting more effort into holding that 8:30 pace using muscular work. We took that muscular work out, replaced it with free falling, and I dropped to a 6:30 pace without changing my VO2 or anything like that. Just understanding that I was spending too much time on the ground. So instead of worrying about heart rate, worry first about let me correct my running efficiency, let me improve my running efficiency, and then enjoy what happens as your heart rate will actually reduce. But I always say to people, running is cardio, so get your heart rate up and have some fun with it. Breathe. I mean, if your heart is starting to elevate a little bit, try to relax. How can I reduce effort in my movement? So that goes into my second thing, shoes. So if I'm comfortable in my shoe and I'm connecting with my run, then the shoe, it should just be, I'm so comfortable in my shoe, I forget I'm wearing it. Right? I want to know that my foot is protected from the ground element. So if I saw a rock in the road, I would try to avoid it, of course. But if I ran over something, I wouldn't think, oh, my foot is going to get cut on that. That's what we want with our shoes. We want to put our shoe on and feel like it lets me move like my foot moves, right? So I also have to say that when I very first started running, like everybody else, I bought those big running shoes because people were like, oh, you really need support when you run. So when we hear things like that, and honestly, why would we think to question it? I was like, great, okay, thanks. Bought my shoes, went on. But you know, I had a running injury and the shoe didn't correct my injury. So I had to say to myself, self, it's you. It's how you're running. You're doing something wrong in that shoe. So what happens then is you start to rely on the shoe simply for comfort. Now that being said, everyone has a different level of comfort and ability. So yes, some people need a little bit more support. Some people use a little bit less. My opinion is it needs to be enough support that it protects you from the ground, but not so much support that you lose connection with the ground. You should still sense where you are and where's your body weight. So whatever shoe you're wearing, you should be able to stand here and sense body weight's on the ball of the foot, and I feel like I'm just relaxed, right? My whole foot's always touching the ground, but when I'm running, I need to be able to sense that as soon as my foot touches down, as soon as my foot makes contact, I'm ready to pull that foot up. So there does need to be some ability of that shoe to help you with pulling the foot up. Having that support and comfort is really, really important. Okay, and the last thing I'm going to talk about, come over and say hi. Let's see. Stretch. What foot stretch do you recommend for heel pain? When we pull our foot up, does that mean we have to lean our body forward to initiate the fall? No, it's the fall goes first. How about running in the snow? Okay. All right, so let me answer these questions. Okay, so this goes right into the questions I saw earlier. Okay, we talked about the shoes, talked about the heart rate. Snow. Snow's better than ice. So guys, snow, sand, mud, grass, elements. What happens when I run in the elements? Well, I want to be even more efficient as far as changing support quickly. So sometimes you won't have that ability. For example, snow. Unless you know it's like a puffy snow, I don't know how you say that. But if it's icy, be very careful, obviously. But in snow, sand, things where my foot's actually going to sink a little bit first, like it's not just a nice stable ground, then you are going to do more what's called active pulling. It's just the way it goes. But what you can do, it's always great and fun, is to work on, this is all of you guys, everybody try this with me. This is called a quick change of support. So, got both feet on the ground, put all of your body weight in one foot, but keep both feet touching the ground. So, this foot is unweighted, but it's still touching the ground. So what I want you to do, it's called change of support. So I take all of my body weight and I just shift it to the other side. But I'm pulling it up from the ground instead of pressing in. So pressing in would be me going press and then jump, right? I don't want to do that. I want to stay in my S-like, very nice elastic shape and simply like hot potato. I'm shifting body weight. When I'm in place right here, it's side to side. See? Side, 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 which you would do if you were going down a steep hill, right? Especially if it was snowy, sandy, rocky, all these things. Then if you want to travel forward, we're going to take our hips and all of our body, lead with our hips, and you travel forward. And as you travel forward, you change support. So you go pull, 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 up, 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 up. See how small that was? Now, what is it going to look like, though, if I was in snow and mud? It will look more like this. Up, 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 up. You're going to have to do a little bit more effort because your foot is basically has to go down before it goes up. If it's in snow, like I said, sand, mud. So these are like strength runs because you're going to use a little bit more active muscle than you would if you had nothing in the way, right? So right now there's nothing in my way. So when I fall and pull, then I'm pulling 2% of my body weight using 10% active muscle. Everything else is muscle elasticity and the reflexive response of my hamstring. However, when there's sand, like I said, or mud or snow, like you're saying, your goal is to keep your body as close to under you as possible and simply fall as much as you're allowed in your element and pull as quick as you can. Up, 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 up. One of the things I talk about a lot is using that one. Hey, instead of using your heart rate monitor, download a free metronome. There's where you would really benefit. We talk a lot about this 180 cadence. And it's not a magic number. It's simply a baseline. It's a minimum baseline to make sure you're using your own muscle elasticity. And once you get comfortable with that rhythm, up, 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 up. As you run faster, you increase your fall. Cadence naturally increases. Naturally increases. Not I'm making myself increase my cadence. It's a natural response. However, in the beginning, like every other thing we do when we learn, it really helps to have the rhythm to get a timing of when to pull. So if I was on a treadmill in the snow, doing some drill practice, starting my run, beep, 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 up, 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 up. It is so much more effective and efficient to focus only on the movement I need to be doing while I'm running than thinking of other things. And by the way, especially if I'm in snow, mud, things where I'm gonna have to watch out, isn't it nice? I just have to pull and then I can keep other thoughts on, what's ahead of me. And where's our gas pedal? Right here, right? Our hips. So if I need to traverse or move around, I can go sideways, I can go forward, I can go backwards. Like my feet are always under me. Especially, like I said, we're just talking about especially on elements, grass and snow and mud and trails, things like that. On the road, there's nothing in the way. You should be simply falling. And then the fun part is because I'm just responding, like look, I'm looking at you, but I can sense when it's time to pull because I know when my body weight feels the foot. I can sense when my foot's on the ground. You have to let go of reaching or looking for the ground. The last question was stretching. So I wish I could say, hey, this is it. This is the stretch. But why do we stretch? I will say that. But I had a guy yesterday ask me about his hips were tight, and he just kind of asked the group, hey guys, anybody have a good hip stretch? And if he would have done all of the hip stretches every he got sent, he'd have been up all night stretching his hip. So here's two things I want to say about stretching. I love it. I mean, it's definitely part of what I do. However, I want you guys to recognize that when you move correctly, this is the best part. When I move correctly, and I keep putting my body in the correct pose, and I keep working correctly with my body, learning how to fall, pulling the foot. As I'm just practicing these drills, I'm putting myself in the correct pose, in the correct position, in the correct movement. Your soft tissues start to get healed. Your tendons, your ligaments, when you're in a constant state of putting yourself in the right place and moving with the correct movement, it's called active recovery. I'm not just learning how to move more efficiently, I'm correcting the movement pattern that was causing my pain to start. So absolutely 100%, you want to stretch and do self-care. Not just stretch, do mobility, active recovery. If you go through the stages, it's free on the RunRx YouTube channel. It's basically going to take you through a skill, a strength, and a self-care. And by the end of the practice, you've got like 15 stretches. There's so many good things. So then it's more like, so the question I think was a foot stretch. So start to think less of breaking down your body parts and stretching things all connected. So one of the things I'll say is this, I'll show you two really good ones. One is just a standing bend over stretch because it gets my hamstrings and my calves and just starts that nice open, if you will. So I like this a lot, especially because if you're first starting to practice the pose, oh my goodness. Your hamstrings are really, they wake up, right? So just keep in mind that all the practice I do is very exaggerated because in running I only pull this much, right? So letting those hamstrings kind of stretch out a little bit. The other thing I love to do is, I call them ankle openers. It's basically just sitting on your feet. And so you come down and you put your feet like this and you sit back. Now, I had someone the other day that just literally could not sit back. And so just start where you can. So if this is where I can be, I can be. You could put a pillow here, you could put, you know, something there. But ideally you should be able to sit back and be comfortable, right? So these are ankle openers. I do these a lot. And then you curl your toes under and you do the same thing. So now I got my toes curled under, sit back. That's for the plantar. So that's really, really good. And then, you know, range of motion work in your hip, in your shoulders, and all the parts. So things like ankle openers, I mean, these should be happening really frequently because again, you're going to be running on your feet. So working your joints in the way they should be. You know, ankle circles, simple and effective. I tell you what, one of the things that's really fun about training and running is you're training to do the same movement over and over and over. It's a repetitive movement. And so the better you are at that movement, then you're going to want to repeat it more. I think that's the best part of this, is that once I can really connect with what is running, right? Running is free falling, holding the running pose, and getting comfortable with free falling and pulling to recover that pose so we can just keep falling. Then you start to think less about my tight calf, my hips, my whatnot, because you'll include your self-care as just part of your training. So I highly recommend going through the reboot if you haven't, the YouTube practice. Also, if you are hurting, you can take the quiz on the website, runrxquiz.com, and it will help you to see if you're reaching or pushing or doing something that could be causing that particular pain. And of course, I would love to see your run. We have the RunRx Strong membership where we do 12 weeks of gait analysis, video check-in, coaching, immersion, great community, great practice, all to help you guys hit your running goals. I'm here every Wednesday, so send in your questions, and thank you so much. Good to see you guys.